There is a moment in every investigation where you realize somebody knows something. You just don't know who or how much they actually know. And then, boom, plot twist. A text comes through, and then the phone rings. And there's a woman, a mother on the other end, who is stating that her son and three of his friends had witnessed the shooting of TJ. And y'all, we were absolutely not prepared for what was coming next, because this wasn't just another message. This wasn't just somebody saying, "Oh, I heard somebody say," but this was a woman telling me she actually had information. Her child had information. And I couldn't help but wonder, after she gave a name of who she believed it to be, what would make her call and say these things? And 2 months later, but in a text, the woman did let me know that we had a $50,000 reward out for TJ, and she wasn't giving out any more free information. And then she told me something else that I will never forget. She said, "My son and three of his friends gotta go talk to the detective Friday." I didn't know it yet, but Friday was gonna change everything. Truth buried, justice broken. For every voice the system tried to silence. I'm your host, Quadrena Adams. And this is episode 5, guys. The Mother Who Spoke. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, listen, if you've been with me since the first episode, and I do truly appreciate everyone hanging in on this incredible journey with me. So, you already know we've been through a lot. We've talked about the night it happened, we've talked about the questions, we've talked about the people, we've talked about the information coming in. We've talked about things that didn't make sense. And we've even talked about me sitting there trying to put the pieces together, all while still grieving my son. But today's episode is different, because today I'm going to take you into the moment when somebody finally decided to talk. And I need you to hear something from me before we go any further. I'm just telling you what I knew when I knew it. I'm just telling you what people told me, and I'm telling you what I documented, and I'm telling you what happened afterward. I'm not turning anything into allegations or any allegations into facts. If somebody told me something, I'm going to tell you they told me. If I didn't personally witness it, I'm not going to tell you that I did. Because there's a difference between what somebody says, what somebody believes, and what can actually be proven, okay? And as always, every person mentioned is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. All right, now we getting back to the storyline, okay? So by this point, I am searching. It almost has become my normal. Meaning my phone is basically attached to my hand, my eyes, messages, Facebook, Instagram, screenshots, comments going up on any post, tips, names, dates, anything, everything. Because I mean, you don't get to shut your mind off. Your child has been murdered. You don't get to just shut your mind off. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep thinking about it. You walk around thinking about it. You eat thinking about it. Like, it doesn't quit. And I wasn't looking for drama. I wasn't trying to become an investigator. I wasn't even trying to be a detective. I was just trying to find out what happened to my child. Because by this point, information is coming from everywhere. Some of it made sense, y'all. Some of it didn't. Some of it turned out to be nothing. And some of it made me stop dead in my tracks. Because we returned a phone call that came back to, we returned a phone call back that was received to the tip line. And when we started talking, she told me her son and 3 of his friends had information, and we started talking. She told me her and her son and 3 of his friends had information, and we started talking. She told me her son and 3 of his friends had information about the shooting. Now, let me tell y'all something. When you hear something like that, and after 2 months, especially, of no answers, you don't just hear it, you start to process it. You start asking questions. 3 friends, who, when, where, what? Did they know TJ? Who called him out? Which one of them set it in motion? Did they tell the police? Who did it? And so she simply gave us a name. I never forget the name she gave. Then my next question was real simple. If you knew these last 2 months, why are you just not coming forward? Why ain't nobody sent no kind of word to nobody in my family or even law enforcement about what has happened? And we asked on the call, why did you wait so long to come forward? And she hit us with, I have a life too. Okay. She went on to explain about how she had little children, older children, a family, and she was afraid. And so we simply asked her, do you need some protection? Lady said no. I let y'all know. Well, just how scared are you? I began to wonder. And then I said, well, if your son knew, nobody encouraged him to come forth. And she then went on to explain how the young people are scared too. They were scared. Okay. And then she said, my son and 3 of his friends have been in the area when it happened. They witnessed it. Okay. So now she just put him at the scene. I want y'all to hear that again. My son and 3 of his friends have been in the area. She said they witnessed the shooting. This is where it all started to change for me, when she told me that they have a meeting with the detective on Friday. See, I'd already got clarification, so I thought, that there were no meetings with any children except one on Friday. The rest of them didn't have any meetings. That's what I was told. Right. But according to this lady on the phone, the young people were supposed to talk to the detectives on Friday. And how she and another mother were encouraging them to speak. And, these kids don't really want to be involved. And me and another mom is encouraging them to speak up. And so here I start to think, okay, we finally getting somewhere. Maybe y'all encouraging the kids to speak up. We're getting somewhere. We're going to get this thing taken care of, y'all, because this is the first week of August. We're going into 2 months of finding out what happened to TJ, or not finding out what happened to TJ, I should say. And like I said, she gave me the name of the person she believed was responsible. She talked about what she knew about the guy, what she had heard, and what she learned about his background. And then we asked her, well, after all of that, she said, what is the connection with him and TJ? Because I don't know of this person that she's named, and he's not familiar to my family either. So how did he come to know of TJ and his location and a meeting place. And she told me she didn't know for sure, but she had heard that there may have been an attempted drug transaction. Well, go back with me to last episode or episode before that. I spoken with the investigator and asked simply, were there drugs at the scene? And I was told again, no. Moving right along. She believed the drug deal went wrong, but she wasn't telling me what she knew for a fact. She was telling me what she believed, what she heard. And I learned quickly in that moment that grief will make you want to grab onto anything that sounds like an answer. But see, I couldn't do that because now, while she was giving some very useful information, she was also blowing some smoke as well. And so I needed the truth. I was on a quest to find out the truth of what happened to TJ. So I just can't get wrapped all up in the name she had given and what she believes happened behind that. And so I asked her, well, who called TJ? Who called my son out? And so we asked the question to her, who called TJ? Who called TJ out there? Who did he believe he was meeting? Because see, now that's a question I've been asking since day one. Who called him out? Who was he going to meet? She told me she didn't know that part either. She basically was saying she was waiting on the young people to speak before she spoke about anything, pretty much, but wanted me to know that I want that reward money because I'm going to have some information for you on Friday. And y'all, Friday, she even went on talking about how she was thinking about moving because the person's name she called knew where she lived and she didn't want anything to happen to her children. And she had a 17-year-old. And I remember thinking, but how scared can you be? We've asked you if you need protection and you say no. You will let us know. So I'm trying to understand just how scared are you? Are you even really scared? And so we get to Tuesday evening. We get through the call, y'all. I do what I normally do. SSS. Screenshot, save, and send. Because I'm assuming I'm working with law enforcement to solve this case. So any information that I have is very helpful that I send it to the investigators so they could efficiently work this case. So I did just that. And basically, it was a waiting game until Friday. That's Tuesday evening. I got to wait all the way to Friday because I only know one person having a meeting Friday. But now I'm waiting to see what this lady is going to bring back to me because she know 3 people that has a meeting on Friday. And I want to know the information that they got. Then I got to thinking, people sometimes will look at grieving families and say, why are they doing all this? Because when you're sitting at home and you have no clue, you start looking for something that you can do. And for me, this was what I can do because I'm sitting and waiting from Tuesday to Friday. So I'm still going back, checking messages. I'm looking at comments. I'm going, rather than sit and be anxious and antsy and just all over the place, nervous. I had to put my mind and my thoughts somewhere else. So I just, would go back through just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And after that, wait until Friday, y'all. I gotta wait all the way to Friday. And when you don't have any answers, a couple of days seem like months, and even as we were waiting from June to August, it seemed like years. But I was determined that this wasn't going to be a cold case. And so from after Tuesday, I stopped receiving text messages from the lady. And so I'm like, well, what in the world has happened? What's going on? This can't be. And Thursday evening, because we know we got these meetings planned. So Thursday afternoon, actually, I was speaking with investigators. Kind of getting a game plan and expectation of Friday, this meeting, and what I could expect, what I could hope for, anticipate, sort of type deal, phone conversation, um, update. And so I'm just patiently waiting, about to head back in to my office when a lady comes up to me and says how sorry she is what happened to TJ, but she was so grateful that they caught the person. And I'm looking confused because I haven't heard that. And I just got off the phone with the investigator. So I feel like I should know that. If that's the case, regardless if it happened, soon as he hung up the phone with me, he called me right back to let me know. So, I'm checking my phone to make sure I don't have a text, call log to make sure I don't have a missed call. And y'all, I don't have the information anywhere in my possession of what she said, that they caught somebody. And so I began to tell her how, well, no, I just I'm actually outside because I was speaking with the investigators and we don't have anybody. I mean, we got some potentials, persons of interest, but to my knowledge, they haven't arrested anybody for this horrible tragedy. And so I decided, we talked and we shared information, and I went on back in my office. Lady left, and driving down the road from work, it hit me. Don't worry yourself trying to figure out what she was talking about. Just thank God that an arrest is coming. So I began to shift my thinking at that moment, and I just began to thank God and praise Him for an arrest coming, and pray for this lady for being used by God to be the messenger. And so I was all hopeful, and going into Thursday night, I'm hopeful. Waking up Friday morning, we got a meeting planned. And I'm excited, because during all this, the rewards still hanging over everything. Our family had put up $25,000, and thankful to Justin McFalls in the Clover community who matched that reward. So there was a total of $50,000 reward up for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of TJ. And I couldn't help but think, why can't people just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do? Why do they have to be pumped and primed and bribed? And it's just the way of the world. And it is what it is. I wanted the information, so I knew, desperate times called for desperate measures. And then I started to realize people weren't necessarily silent because they didn't know. Some people were silent because they were afraid. Some people were silent because they were protecting somebody. Some people didn't want to get involved. Some want to protect themselves. And some maybe just didn't care enough. And a lot of times, I couldn't even tell which one was which. And so we get to August 5th, and I'm anticipating these meetings. There was a meeting, there were witnesses, there were detectives, and there was a moment, and there was movement. There was a meeting, there were witnesses, there were detectives, and there was movement. But I didn't know how much movement. Not yet. August 5th, Friday, the day of the meeting. The plan was they would come in, talk to detectives, tell them what they knew, tell them what they witnessed. But here's what I didn't know. The story had already moved ahead of us, because while I was thinking Friday is when we were finally going to hear from some people, something else had already started happening. The investigators already started moving. And then I sent a text that evening because I hadn't heard anything. And I got the thumbs up response. When I asked for an update, I got the response of, I got some good information. I'll update you as soon as I can. And so I responded back with a thumbs up because I trusted and I believed we're working together. And as soon as you find out what you find out, I'll know it too. If you arrested somebody, I'll know that too. And so from speaking with the lady, I had kind of ran way ahead of myself and thought, as soon as this one person goes in for their meeting, because allegedly they were involved, so they'll arrest that one and then they'll go arrest the son. And Friday, 8 o'clock, I hadn't heard anything. And now I'm remembering what the mother told me, that her son and three of his friends were supposed to go to the police station and talk about what they witnessed. She was going to take him down there. That was the plan. But he never got the chance to walk into that police station first. And now I had a completely different question. How? How did the investigators get from a mother calling me to a witness meeting and no arrest? What were they trying to connect? What did they still need to know? What hadn't the witnesses told them, or what had the witnesses told them? Did any of the information I sent matter? What role did the mother's decision to speak actually play? Because, see, now it's not just about rumors, it's young people speaking with detectives that say they witnessed what happened. But we still have no arrest, y'all, and it's August the 5th, and the meeting has taken place. And we got some good information. And I'm thinking today is the day I'm going to finally get justice for TJ. But I didn't understand something yet. A meeting with the investigators, even an arrest, is not the same as accountability. And accountability is not always the same as justice. And my family, we were about to learn the hard way. A mother spoke. She told me her son had information. She told me 3 other young people had been there. She gave me a name. She told me they were supposed to talk to detectives. She told me she was afraid. She told me she was taking her son in. And then before they could walk through bring him in. And then still no arrests have been made. Then I wonder again, had they been building something quietly while I was sitting at home trying to piece together my son's murder? Because on August 5th, I still didn't understand what was happening behind the scenes. I didn't know what the witnesses had said. I didn't know what detectives knew. And I definitely didn't know if there was really truly going to be an arrest. And that when it did, it was the beginning of another fight. A fight over what happens after somebody gets arrested, because finding the person and holding everyone accountable are 2 very different things. And next episode, I'm going to take you into August 6th. The witness, the meeting, the arrest, what I was told, what I wasn't told, and the question that still bothers me. How did they get to him before the witness ever made it through the door? I'm Quadrena Adams. This is Truth Buried, Justice Broken. For every voice the system tried to silence. If this episode moved you, I'd love to hear from you. Your voice helps keep TJ's story alive. If you're on Apple Podcasts, open the show, scroll to ratings and reviews, tap write a review, and share a few words with me. If you're on Spotify, tap the episode's Q&A and leave a respectful comment. On YouTube, you can leave a comment under the episode, but please no names of private individuals and no unverified accusations, please. You can also share a memory of TJ or a note for our family, but please keep it kind and genuine. Thank you for standing with us. Every message matters.